Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we are okay to start talking. I do sincerely apologise for this. We've been having some technical issues with the microphone, but I believe the majority of them are now resolved. We are just getting ready to start qualifying for the United States Grand Prix. And we're beginning with qualifying as usual. So as you could see on the screen just a little bit before you there, I do sincerely apologise for that. There was some technical issues going on with the audio capture device and all of that kind of stuff, so sincere apologies for that. As you can see on the previous screen though, that is the standings of the last few rounds and how things have panned out, and it's mainly been the Ayrton Senna show, all things considered, but today this is a race absolutely anybody can win, and we're very excited. Very excited for this one, actually. It's no point going too much into anything at the moment. Right, you know what? Bear with me. We're going to do something real quick. Okie dokie. So, sincere apologies. We're having some issues with the regular commentator's microphone. Something is not working. I think that's something I'm going to have to look into at a later date when we are not getting ready to race. So sincere apologies about that one. But you join us here for qualifying of the United States Grand Prix. One of the craziest races, I'm sure, that this company of league racers, staff, everyone who makes the show work behind the scenes. This is going to be one of the craziest things we've ever witnessed. We are looking at an incredible amount of racing coming your way because we have got 13 Red Bulls going around the shortest track in the game to fulfill our dream of a crazy IndyCar fueled nightmare, and that's the best way that I can put it. I'm just going to quickly check. Yeah, okay, so the microphone is a little bit loud, probably because it's a bit too close to my face. We'll move it back a little bit, and that should be fine. What I can actually do as well, though, is if I just go into my microphone settings on here, I do apologise, we'll turn the volume down to 8. And that should help a little bit on that one. Okie dokie. So you see the man currently on provisional pole position is Sonics, the American, looking for a good outing here after his disappointment came in Germany when he threw away a victory against this man who was absolutely charging wherever he's gone. He was just on track, but he's just gone off it. He's actually just improved to second, so Ayrton Senna up to second. But this qualifying session is all about burning fuel and finding yourself a slipstream partner here this evening. Of course, a rolling start for these guys as well. We are just going to check that that has been set because we did have some issues with that a little bit earlier, so I just want to make sure that that is correct. If not, I'll have to sincerely apologise to the drivers. Is it right, or has Toby made a mistake? Very unprofessional this, I do apologise. I can't really actually see. There's rolling start. Yeah, no, that's fine. So yeah, we had some issues with that last time. It didn't save, but it has this time. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So what that means is obviously we have potentially rolling starts involved this evening, which means obviously we're in an oval, so it will be likely a staggered start. So these guys really need to focus on qualifying just as much as a regular race. You know, maybe an oval, there may be plenty of overtaking opportunities with slipstream and stuff, but you're going to be pretty highly determined by your starting position. And as we can see, the car's going round. That's exactly what we're looking forward to. So let's have a look through the grid order as it stands at the moment. A lot of different viewpoints on the strategy here this evening. A lot of different people thinking in different ways. So we have Sonics on provisional pole. He is ahead of Ayrton Senna. And then Ayrton Senna is ahead of Avanza 70 for Diamante Nera at the moment. Ollie Polly brings up the second TBD car in P4. And then it's Skull TBD for ISR representing ahead of Chiller Killer, Philly Wool, Moju, Lenny TBD, Quitshocks 10. Russell Evan is ahead of Mr. Ralph and Schectifer bringing up the rear at the moment. So you can see here, this is the trouble some of these guys are having. Mr. Ralph at the moment is actually just trying to find a way to fit in with this pack because he's got caught out, but he's actually just going to go for the pit and it's not actually letting him. For some reason, he's having some issues getting back into the pits, and he's just had an incident with Russell Levant. So this is unfortunate for Mr. Alf because he'll want to continue burning fuel, but something's preventing him. Some kind of bug. Maybe he needs to just do another lap. Something's happening. Regardless, he may need to just restart to the pits and start reburning that fuel all over again. There's 10 minutes remaining in the session, so there's plenty of time here to do that. Hello to everybody. We have 4 live watchers at the moment. I hope you're all doing well, of course, and I do apologise that the stream might be a little bit choppy at the moment. There's not really much I can do about that, so I do apologise if that is the situation. But it usually clears itself up a little bit into it. It's just when we're first getting started, this kind of thing happens. But 4 people in the chat, nonetheless. Do let me know how you're doing tonight, what you're looking forward to in this Grand Prix. And let me know what, let me know your predictions, what you want to see. This is the craziest race we've had in a long time, and it's going to be a wild one. But despite this being a race where anybody can win, literally anyone in this field has the opportunity to win here today, it is still the front runners that have found themselves at the front in the qualifying order at the moment. As you can see, it is Sonics, Ayrton Spencer, Avanza, Chiller Killer and Ollie Polly, our usual suspects, bar Mr. Ralph, are all running up where you'd expect them to be at the moment. You can see Ollie Polly here. This is what's critical. He's trying to use Chiller Killer as a slipstream, but he's trying to use it to the extent where he doesn't get held up by Chiller Killer through the corners, which looks like it's what's happening. So we'll see. Obviously, does this improve? No, it doesn't, because he hits the wall as well. So a slipstream partner is vital, but it does cause some additional dirty air, that sort of thing. And it just makes life a little bit difficult for yourself. Ayrton Spencer's gone with a different route. He's decided to try get some free air and see if that helps him. But as you can see, he's a temp down on his personal best. He'll try go around again, and he'll just keep trying to build this momentum until he's able to find that time. But right now, Sonics is looking comfortable on pole position. I say comfortable, he's less than a tenth. So that can easily be beaten when we get to the lower fuel runs a bit later in the session. So it's still wide open. There's half a temp separating most cars, and Ayrton Spencer steadily chipping away, you know, bit by bit to get in with this. And he's actually using Skull TVD as a potential slipstream candidate here. And he's just trying his best to get his eye in and just keep going as Ollie Polly pits. And I think he's returned to pit lane without just pitting. So he will have a full set of fuel to go again, which is a bit of an interesting one. Interesting how he'd opt for that. Now, where is Mr. Ralph? Russell Levant has had an issue. Mr. Ralph is still going around at the moment, only finding himself in P12 currently. Not been a great qualifying session for the Spaniard. Okay, so Chiller Killer moves up into P2 in this crazy slipstream train here in qualifying. If this is what qualifying's like, the race is going to be just as hectic. And I can't wait to get started. And we can do that in 7.5 minutes. This race is going to be absolutely insane. It's a crazy one we've all been waiting for. It's midway point through the season tonight. So if anything, it gives the drivers a little bit of a break from the constant sweatiness, if you will. The constant chaos that you usually find yourself with. And obviously they can just sort of... Obviously it's a championship points paying round, so they've still got to take it semi-seriously. But it gives them an opportunity to just relax a tiny bit and have something a bit different, a bit of fun. Something anyone can win at exactly midway point before we begin the final stretch of Spa, Monza, Tokyo, Laguna Seca, Dragon Trail, Interlagos. You know, some really heavy driver circuits coming up towards the end of the season. So this is the way to blow off some steam in true American fashion before we get on the way for the final stretch of the season. And it's just a case of trying to figure out what is the best way to get slipstream around here. That's what these guys are struggling with, because they're getting the slipstream through the corners, but it's pulling them out wide and making them hit the wall as a result, which is really, you know, causing a lot of them to struggle. It's actually Avanza 7 now who has beaten Sonics to that provisional pole time, so Sonics will want to get on with it and try get that back. Obviously, Chiller Killer is coming in for some stops as well. Ayrton Spencer has somewhere had a spin. Let's see if we can find out what that was. And it was just Russell having a spin. Ayrton Spencer caught up in it. No fault of Spencer's at all. Just caught up in Russell's incident. Very unfortunate. But he will come into the pits and get some new boots on to go going again. This man, Mr. Alf, winner of the Austrian Grand Prix, still struggling to beat his personal best and really get in with the mix here. The grid is so tight at the moment. Mr. Alf will be searching for anything that he can to get himself up there. Our ovals, Mr. Alf's kryptonite? I'm sure we'll find out, but it looks like he's really struggling to get the car turned in. Of course, for those who don't know, per regulation, at the moment, you are able to tune your car for this evening only. So this will be the only time that you are able to put a setup on. Obviously, the reason being for that is a lot of drivers were unable to get around the corners at max downforce. So they basically... A lot of people, especially those on a controller, were struggling to get around the corners, so max downforce was encouraged for those guys. Obviously, unfortunately, there's no way to just allow max downforce. You have to change the whole thing. So there was no way of policing that, so what happened as a result is full setups where they had to be enabled. And that is exactly what we've got here. So you've got drivers. I know I spoke to Avanza 7 and Sonics roughly, about 20 minutes before the session, and they claim they'd spent multiple hours developing a setup for this circuit, just to go with an IndyCar style of handling, trying to get that extra little bit out of it. And that's exactly what they've done, and it's paid off because they're obviously first and second at the moment with 4 minutes to go in the session. I mean, Ayrton Spencer and Chiller Killer are so close together, and it's still only half a tenth to find between the two. It is absolute craziness right now. Ayrton Spencer's going out on the hard compound of tyre. Philly Wool has picked himself a nice spot to park up in, just watching the cars as they go by. Moju goes back out on circuit. Quickshot's 10 making his return, obviously the same as Mr. Alf for the first time since Austria. Sonics looks like he has taken provisional pole back as he gets into a bit of a kerfuffle with his teammate. Great shout out to this man, Skull TBD at the moment, on for a career best qualifying this season. This is exactly where he wants to be. He's ahead of Ollie Polly as well, so that's very impressive for him. Be very chuffed with that one, I'm sure. Absolute madness, and it's just qualifying. But what is going on with Mr. Alf? He's starting to find a little bit of time now, starting to get a rhythm, figuring out where he needs to go. He does need to be a bit lower on the corners, I would imagine, than what he's able to do at the moment. That was a personal best, but it wasn't good enough for anything doing. Let's just take a few laps from Mr. Alf here, show you what these guys are going through, and you can see how much of an assault it is. Mr. Alf not looking comfortable. He's not even getting into the high gears, so Mr. Alf must have gone the complete wrong way in terms of setup, and I'm surprised he hasn't reverted off of it so far, actually. He's sticking by his setup with 2 minutes left to go. Now this is a crazy train. Look at this. So many cars getting caught up with each other, trying to find the clear air, and we have a big accident in qualifying. I think that was Moju who paid the biggest price of all, and it all just got a bit harem squarem really fast. There was contact, and there was a ping pong effect. Lenny goes, someone goes into the pits, Moju goes as well, and all the same cars battling for the same bit of track ends in disaster. Let's hope we don't have anything like that in the race, because that was a pretty big one. Oh, and we have another one saying that Moju and Ayrton Spencer this time are the victims. On board with Ayrton Spencer. And you can see it's just, again, someone else's incident. Nowhere to go. The ghosting system letting Ayrton Spencer down massively there. And he's caught up in an incident that was not really anything to do with him. One last dash is the plan for Avanza. He comes in for a bit of fuel, bit of tyres, as Sonics tries to find some more. As you can see, Quickshot's 10 lining up for the slipstream with his teammate. WSR's slipstream has got them pole position at the moment. Chiller Killer looking to try dethrone someone. And Spenner right behind him. Skull TVD right behind him. Ollie Polly right behind him. Very close. We haven't actually seen Ollie Polly move quite a lot. He's come into the pits and he's just sort of sat there for the rest of the session. Mr. Alf is very close to beating Mr. Alf. Mr. Alf is very close to beating Russell, sorry. Sonic's trying to get past Russell, getting caught up in traffic there. That will stop him from making any further improvements as we get towards the end of the session now. And it's looking like pretty much all said and done. We have 5 seconds remaining. Final attempts for a lot of these drivers. Is it going to be Sonic's on pole position? Certainly looks that way unless someone has something magical. Manza 7 to the line. He can't beat him. Chiller Killer is already past. Everyone looks like they are already past. And it is Sonics on pole position for the United States Grand Prix. And not to take anything away from him, of course, but that is probably the least important pole of the season. Whilst they'll get an early advantage, he's going to be a sitting duck for Slipstream come race. So just while we're getting ready to go into the race, let's take a quick... Sorry, I had to set that up. A quick look at how the last few races have gone, and obviously you can see Ayrton Spenner was the last man to take a victory in this series, and you can just see how the last few results they've typically gone in Ayrton Spenner's way, and I'm sure he'll be wanting to continue that trend. You can see the Asian Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix, the German Grand Prix, all had the same 1, 2, 3. Very interesting on that one. Will we have it again today? We need a little bit of a difference between times and drivers moving forwards and backwards and stuff. But yes, very interesting indeed. As we have some time remaining in the session, everyone's slowing down. Apparently someone must still be on a hot lap, technically. That's why we've not gone to the race yet. But it is Sonics, and look at that for a little formation flying. Yes, Sonics is the man on pole position today. We have a chat message from Devast TVD, said the pad is awful here. I'll be surprised if I can get top 10. So Devast blaming his performance on being on a controller. However, he is still beaten by fellow controller users Phillywool, Russell Avant, Moju, Lenny TBD, Quitshots 10 and Mr. Alf. So maybe a pad issue for Devast, but there's several pad users in front of him. Great qualifying for Russell Avant. Best qualifying and best chance of the first points of the season for Overboost Racing. But you know the famous expression that's coming soon. We're all getting ready for it. Let's get ready. And here we go then. We begin moving for the US Grand Prix. Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing, you bunch of hot dogs! Away we go then, and it's Sonic. Sorry, Ayrton Spenner got a very poor start, immediately under pressure from Skull TBD. Was he caught napping on the rolling start there? Straight away, the top 3 have broken loose from the rest of the pack. And it is Sonics immediately under a bit of pressure from Avanzo 7. Chiller Killer is right behind them too. The top 3 have broke away in a line of stern. Avanzo 7 immediately trying to put some early pressure on to the man of Sonics to see if he can try get out in front. Obviously it's quite easy to defend these corners, but obviously you are still susceptible to that slipstream. So the top 3 break away. Ayrton Spenner in P4. Followed him is Skull TBD. Great start for Phillywool. Lenny TBD battling away with Quickshots 10 in the background as well. Looks like it was a very poor start for Ollie Polly. He's down into P9. Russell Avant has fallen to P10. About to fall out of the points to X-Moju, Mr. Ralph and Schectifer all the way in the background. Avanzo 7 still putting a lot of early pressure onto Sonics in the lead of the Grand Prix thus far. A long way to go, a lot of pit strategies and things to call, but he'll still want to get his dominance asserted early. And look at that, Schectifer is struggling so much, he might just be lapped in the first couple of laps. And he is! we already got some lapping going on at the moment because of the staggered start system that this track operates. So traffic immediately coming into effect, and Avanza 7 is put into the wall by Merju, and he will not be happy with that whatsoever. You can see he's able to pass his teammate with relative ease as he tries to find a way past the lap car of Merju. Merju just doesn't look like he knows where he's going. Immediately into the wall for Avanza 7, and his chances severely hurt early on. There's plenty of time to come back though, and I'm sure he won't still be happy. A little bit of contact between him and Ayrton Spencer for P3 now. Mr. Alf struggling, he's stuck up on that wall at the moment. Scheckter again being lapped instantly. Crazy racing. I didn't think we'd see anyone lap before the first 20 laps, that's for sure, but that has definitely been the case thus far. Chiller really starting to put on a little bit of pressure now onto Sonic. Sonic will have to keep this momentum up. He cannot afford to slow down. A lot of these guys favouring different tyre strategies. Let's take a look at that real quick. So we have everyone pretty much apart from these two. Ayrton Spencer and Avanza 7 and Skull TBD are all on harder compound tyres, so make no mistake about it. Whilst the top two are getting away, these guys are still in a great position because of their tyre choice. Lots of racing soft options in the background as well, as everyone looks for a different way, and it looks like traffic might be causing an issue with Sonics here, because Chiller is right behind the American now, desperately looking for a way past the American. It is an absolute waiting game though on a lap that is barely over 10 seconds. Chiller looking very tasty at the moment. Sonic's definitely been struggling with traffic at the moment. We did have some yellow flags in the background. Looks like Ayrton Spencer may have had an issue. He's dropped back down into P6. He's been overtaken by his teammate now. Sonic still leads. A lot of traffic to come though. We'll ride on board with Chiller to see just how chaotic this can be. Sonic desperately tries to find a way past Russell, and he's unable to do so. Succumbs the lead of the Grand Prix as a result. Do we get to see what happened on there? Was this all Russell's fault, I wonder? He's coming up behind him, looks for a way past. Russell covers the inside line. Sonic touches the apron, and that is what spins him down into P2. And a small mistake has big complications here in the Northern Isle. Northern Isle doesn't play favourites for you. Doesn't play favourites for you. It plays favourites for nobody. And that is why everybody can win this race here today. Despite the order looking like what it looks like, there's still a lot of racing to come. As Skull TBD is all over the back of Avanza 7, chasing his first podium of the season. Desperately trying to keep with the Scotsman. Coming into the next corner. These two are absolutely flying right now. Sonics is driving in anger, desperately trying to catch up Chiller, but Chiller is sailing away at the moment. Ollie Polly P5, then it's better P6, then it's Philly Wool, then it's Lenny TBD, then it's Quick Shots 10. Merju is followed by Mr. Alf, who's battling away still with Russell Levan. And here you can see the battle right up for P3 now. Car number 27 versus car number 98. Desperately trying to find a way past. But he's just got to play the waiting game. He's got the slipstream. He's in a good position right now. He's on the same strategy as the car ahead as well. Let's take a look at that actually. So this is Avanza 7 on the racing mediums. You can see the tyre wear's not too bad. We're about a quarter down on the right hand side, which is actually Avanza 7 hitting the wall. That could be detrimental, but they get away with it for now. Oh, Mr. Alf has a huge accident with Russell Levant. What happened there? That was absolutely massive. So Mr. Alf is just going along, minding his diddly business, and then you can see the cars are lapping him, coming behind, and Mr. Alf touches the apron, goes for a spin. What happened to Russell? Did Russell just do the same thing? I think he did. So a mistake from the two guys at the back of the field. They'll have to pit, almost guaranteed, for some new rubber. Them tyres are absolutely gone, but now Sonics has somehow clawed his way back up to Chiller. So Chiller must have fallen foul to that incident as well. So you can see just how crazy this racing is. These guys falling foul. Skull TBD TBD is up into P3. Looks like an issue has occurred with Avanza 7. Is there any way of seeing what happened? No, it's already been gone and done. That's how fast the racing is. Ollie Polly is the next man to fall victim at Northern Isle. What happened here? So he was right behind some lapped cars as he's looking for a way past. It looks like, yes, it's contact with a back marker that sends Ollie Polly spinning around, and lots of incidents are being caught out early on. Anyone can win this race because of crazy stuff like this, and Sonics has managed to get away from Chiller Killer, and it's roles reversed as he gets through the traffic and Chiller Killer does not. Skull TVD in a very happy P3 for him right now. He'll be absolutely buzzing with that. Avanza 7 P4. Then it's Ayrton Spencer following Philly Wool, who's in P5. Crazy racing going on. Philly Wool desperately trying to find a way past the lapped traffic. Lots of traffic at the moment for these guys. They're really not sure what they can be doing. Ollie Polly starting to reclimb his way up the grid. He's the first man to make a pit stop, of course, after what just happened. Mr. Ralph has gone onto the hard tyres. Russell has opted to go back onto the softs. So Sonics leads. Chiller Killer, P2. This is what I wanted to talk about. Look at Skull TVD's tyre condition compared to the two in front of him. This could be vital. Little bit of contact there with Chiller Killer getting involved with some lapped cars. And you say that Ayrton Spencer trying to unlap himself. Chiller Killer into the pit lane then. He's the first one to blink. How soon will Sonics respond? Will he leave it a few laps? Will he pit immediately? Looks like he's looking for the pit entrance potentially. Or is he happy to just continue for now? The undercut is possible if you leave it a few laps, like we said. Chiller Killer has opted for the hard, so Chiller Killer thinks, I want to go a lot further in this race than what them tyres were willing to offer me. And a lot for a different strategy as a result. Ayrton Spencer tailing his lapped down teammate. We'll see how the TBD boys, how good is their synchronised swimming. He's actually just pulling Spen along as a slipstream right now. And this is working beautifully because it's bringing him right up behind Philly Wool and Avanza 7. Great teamwork from TBD at the moment. Sonic still leads as his tyres begin to fall off. Let's have a look at his lap times. 11.8s, I mean 11.9s for the car behind. So he's still going faster. But it's Chiller Killer, the man that they'll be looking for. Caught up in traffic is his biggest issue. Ayrton Spencer has moved up into P4 by using his teammate as slipstream. Still going super intense stuff for these guys as Avanza 7 tries to go defensive. The TBD slipstream rocket falls apart and Ayrton Spencer is left in a free wide battle here at Northern Isle Speedway. What a crazy race. He'll be looking to try go around the outside of Avanza 7. He temporarily does it, but then Avanza 7 pulls back in front of him. The man on the racing hards versus the man on the racing mediums. The racing mediums starting to get towards the end of their life cycle at the moment, and the side by side then coming into the next corner. Can Ayrton Spencer go clean around the outside? It's a lot harder than what it looks, and they're going to be side by side. And now Ollie Polly's trying to unlap himself in all of this chaos as well. So TBD could use a pincer maneuver to try and get past here, but it's not really going to happen. Ayrton Spencer clicks the wall a little bit, but he's still there. He's still on the outside. And Avanza 7 temporarily pulls ahead, but Ayrton Spencer still trying to go for the swooping action around the outside. The inside line is so powerful around here, but he does it! Fantastic sweep around the outside for Ayrton Spencer as Avanza 7's tyres begin to fall away. He's caught up in an absolute monstrous race here with Philly Wool being on very close to dead tyres as well. Absolute crazy racing. Ayrton Spencer puts himself into P3, and it is Ollie Polly who is going faster because he's on the newer tyres. But these guys need to work it out. They can't really go side by side. Ayrton Spencer needs to tuck in behind Ollie Polly and use the slipstream here. But obviously Ayrton Spencer would prefer the clean air if he can. But Ollie Polly's just going faster because he's on the better tyres. Excuse me. Oh, all this crazy action. I didn't even have time to mute to do that, guys. So Philly Wool is now all over the back of Avanza 7, which is interesting, considering his tyres at the moment. Looking for a way past. This is lunacy, he says Ed. That's what we do here at ISR. Philly Wall makes the move for P4, and Avanza 7 drops down into P5 behind, and Skull TBD's coming to lap these guys now as well. Traffics is really, really hurting Chiller Killer's chances, as he's almost a lap down on the man he was racing for the lead a little bit earlier. Just shows you how big of an effect that can have. Chiller Killer can just play the long game here, and he can just hold up that if he wants. What just happened there? There was some yellow flags. Don't know what happened. We've missed it. Sonic still leads. Skull TBD trying to use Avanza 7 to close up. He's in P2 at the moment. And Spanner P3. Philly Wall P4. Avanza P5. Chiller Killer P6. Oh, and there's a spin for someone in 5th place. It's Avanza 7. What happened here? He's racing along with Skull TBD. He makes contact with a wall and just sends himself into a spin. And around he goes. Big mistake for Avanza 7. Great battle for P4 here between Chiller Killer and Philly Wall. I mean, obviously, it looks like Sonic's has got a lot of time. Skull TBD actually pits very early. Sonic's able to make them tyres go a long, long way too. That has made, you can see, Sonic's cheekily there actually turned on his traction control in the last few laps to help nurse the tyres. Now you can see, obviously, Sonic's is pitting, and it looks like he had this race completely under control, but this will throw him into traffic as well. So he will have to go through the same experience as the other cars, obviously coming around, lapping themselves and getting stuck in the train that Chiller Killer went through at some point. So Sonic's is in a very good position. He's actually come back out in the lead of the Grand Prix because somebody else pitted, I think. I think it was obviously Skull TBD did. Russell has gone for a spin as well. It was quite a slow spin, actually, so I'm not really sure what happened to Russell here. Looks like he just clipped the wall, does he? No, we're still going just fine. So what happened here? He clips this wall, maybe? No, it's contact with Lenny TBD, and around goes the overboost. Sonic's then leads in a very good position. A long way to go in this race, and a lot can still happen. Ayrton Spencer using his racing hard strategy to keep him within a shout though, especially towards the end of the race. Skull TBD overlapping Avanza 7. Then it's Chiller Killer trying to follow through, trying to pull off a similar manoeuvre. Ollie Polly's right behind though, so they can't be doing this too much. You can see the undercut looks like it isn't immediately that effective, and then it becomes a little bit more effective as time goes on. Remember, we saw Ollie pit very early due to some... Oh, Philly Wall has gone in a spin with Avanza 7. And Avanza 7 goes for another spin because his tyres have cried enough. Avanza has left his tyres too late, and he's caught up in some contact. I think that was with Ayrton Spencer. Oh dear, that is a horrific incident. That is so unlucky. Avanza just comes on. Again, the ghosting system letting Ayrton Spencer down in a big way. Gran Turismo kind of ruined that for everybody there. A ghosting system usually would have come into place, but for whatever reason, it looked like he was ghosted, and then suddenly he wasn't. A bit hard to explain that, to be honest. Regardless, that is the craziness we have seen within just technically 10 minutes of racing. So it's time for some different strategy as Russell Avant goes for another spin. So this is where we'll see the difference in strategy. Chiller Killer really putting the pressure on Skull TBD now, and then it's Ollie Polly right behind them. Then Philly Wall's not too far behind either, so this is a little bit of a train battling for the podium positions at the moment. Crazy battle for second place here. Chiller Killer desperately looking for a way by. Ollie's there to pick up the pieces if it goes wrong. Chiller Killer looking to the inside. We got another spin somewhere in the background. Not sure who it was. I think it was just Russell getting out of the way. Chiller Killer has successfully made the move down the inside. Ollie Polly looks like he's just going to follow him straight through. And Skull TBD is deboned out of the podium temporarily. He tries to fight back though on Ollie Polly. Ollie Polly determined to hold his nerve. Tries to hold the inside line. Chiller Killer's made it up into second. Ollie Polly third. Then it's Skull TBD trying to make a comeback. Skull TBD on for the drive of his life at the moment. crazy racing as Skull TBD makes his way back up the inside, and then he looks like he's going to immediately try challenge Chiller Killer to get that second place back as well. But Ollie Polly still trying to hold on around the outside. Car going slowly up ahead. It's Lenny TBD. And Skull TBD makes the move for second, gets back past, and now crucially he's behind his teammate, going to use for a little bit of slipstream. How quickly will his teammate get out of the way? He gets out of the way pretty quickly, because now Chiller Killer has been able to send it back down the inside. Great job by him. Can Skull TBD hold it around the outside at the moment? Ollie Polly, somewhere along there, sneaks back up into P3. Got to be careful of the tyres. Really starting to get fed up now. Obviously, these guys are on a different race strategy completely to Ollie, but Ollie's having some fun! And that's why we said be careful of the tyres. Ollie will use the opportunity to pit. Very smart decision to just go for the pit instead of the spin. And he'll go on to some new compounds and get some more fuel, and he'll get a lucky get out of jail free card for his troubles. Vanza 7 trying to unlap himself from Ayrton Spenner, goes through. Of course, these two are the guys who had the incident when Avanza had two separate spins and Ayrton Spenner found himself with nowhere to go. Quick Shots 10 moves up to P7, Moju. Russell Levant battling away with the leaders. That is Sonics coming behind these guys now. On a great rhythm. He's got to make more pit stops though if he sticks with this strategy. Sonics has got to be careful not to get himself taken out, because that could hinder. All it takes is one spin at this point for Sonics to get turned around, and you know, it didn't actually look like Sonics put that much fuel in his first stop actually. So that might be why Sonics has got such a, you know, an extensional lead, and why he's lapping his competitors, because he's almost out of fuel again. So it looks like he went for a short fuel pit stop, and it's run out very quickly, whereas everyone else obviously went for quite a high fuel pit stop. So maybe on the next stop we'll see Sonics do his high fuel stop, and that will really give us an idea of where he is in relation to his competition. Nevertheless, taking nothing away from him, he's looking very comfortable at the moment. Meanwhile, Skull TBD chases down Chiller Killer once again. Looking for that way past the Dane. Looks to the inside, nothing there. Just holds on for the time being. And this is what it's all about, just following this car in the slipstream, waiting for an opportunity to present itself. Sorry, not prevent itself, definitely not. And this might be it. No, Mr. Alf pits, so here we go. Sonics is in the pits. This will give us an idea, because he looks like he might be doing his full fuel stop now, which is a shame, because he still had quite a lot of life in his tyres, so it was a bit of a mismanagement on the fuel for WSR more than anything. Looks like he'll drop into at least third. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to traffic. And he might come out in the thick of it, actually. There's a few cars about to go past him. There goes one, there goes two, there goes three. So Sonics comes out in a big heap of traffic. Now, this is what saw Chiller Killer's lap times just fall and fall and fall as he got slower and slower, because he got stuck in these battles and stuff. And the thing for Sonics is he doesn't really want to take any crazy risks. You know, you can't really afford to at this point when you're in this much control of the race. However, someone is going for a spin. Who was that? It was whoever that car is. I can't click onto it for some reason. Whoever it is seems to have recovered, mind. Sonics is let through by his teammates. You'd expect that. Good job. The battle for the lead then at the moment consists of Chiller Killer versus Skull TBD. These guys on great strategies for tyres. They can go a long way into this stint. As their rival, who they're battling, of course, still... how much fuel did he put in? So he put a fuel tank in. So that's a long stint, he would hope. What tyres did he go with? He went with super softs, which is interesting. Because the tyres won't last as long as the fuel, whereas it looks like it might be vice versa for these guys. I think their fuel will go before the tyres. Regardless, both of them doing a great job of managing the fuel and tyres at the moment as they battle away. Philly Woolpits. And Spenner begins to try and lap himself up the inside of Skull TBD. And his next target will be the race leader. To try and get back himself on the lead lap. Sonics is not too far behind either. Still lots of cars everywhere. Still high risk for Sonics here. He's got to be careful. As do all of these guys. One big spin, obviously. It's not much. We've seen some incidents that would usually put you out the race straight away. Sonics is now battling away with Skull TBD. How hard will Skull be able to fight off the American? It wasn't that hard at all. Sonics made mincemeat of him. But now he's caught up between Ayrton Spenner and Chillerkiller battling for the lead. Will Skull TBD come back at him? This is obviously, like I say, the risks that we talk about. Sonics is in a great position for the race win here tonight. But he is in an absolutely terrifying situation where he's trying to make the moves on cars without getting involved in crashes or anything either. And Spenner still trying to keep it up the inside, making his life as hard as possible. Contact! Moju was having an incident, and he did come back on, and it did slightly hinder Sonics. Sonics gets away with it for now. But there was definitely contact there. Moju was having an incident. He skated up the circuit, hit Sonics into the wall. And Sonics has to do his work again. Gets past Avanzo 7. He'll be wondering when the cars around him will pit. That will give him some respite. And Sonic's still looking for a way. Yellow flags involved at the moment. So again, be careful. It's Mr. Ralph going slowly on the bottom apron. Sonic still looks for a way. Is he able to get past? He does make contact with Russell Avant. Luckily for him, Russell comes off worse. Not lucky with your Russell, of course. Chiller defending from Ayrton Spenner, let alone the race leader. Side-by-side action now for these two. Chiller should be focusing more on Sonics than he is Ayrton Spenner, in my opinion. Sonics is trying to help Ayrton Spenner get past Chiller here so he can follow him through. Ayrton Spenner gets through then. Now this is the battle for the lead, officially. And it looks like Sonics might be able to get the job done down the inside. Yes, he does. No response from Chiller. But now, Sonics has got to get past Ayrton Spenner, the man he just helped put in this position. And he does get it with them fresh, super soft tyres. The thing about the fresh, super soft tyres is they're already looking like, you know, they're not in a great position for the tyre life. He's going to try and get past Ollie Polly. And this is the traffic that we talk about that is so easy to get stuck in and have an accident in. As Ayrton Spenner goes back down the inside. Is he able to retake the lead lap back? Certainly trying, and I think he has, you know. And then there is Sonic's teammate up ahead. Contact! Big contact! Ollie Polly is involved in an accident with someone. I thought that was Ayrton Spenner getting in his third incident of the night, but it was not. It looks like it was contact between Chiller and Ollie. That's huge for Chiller. That is so disappointing. He's caught up in an accident that he wasn't really involved in. Again, just the nature of this circuit, unfortunately. Sonics back in the lead, though. Not too far behind him is Skull TBD, who's yet to pit, however. Sonic's in a great position, but he's still trying to unlap himself from Ayrton Spenner. This is not the way we would have not the way we would have thought we'd see the title battle, that's for sure. But I mean, Ayrton Spenner's on a very different strategy here, so he's doing a very good job for himself at the moment. Sonics is effectively using these super soft tyres to the best of his ability to be able to get through this pack as quickly as possible. However, it's not working, and he's losing the grip fast. Lap 127 here at Northern Isles Speedway, and we're watching a bizarre situation where Sonics is trying to get past the lapped car of Ayrton Spenner. Now Philly Wool into the fray as well. Skull TBD pits for a second time, and that is fuel. That is the reason why he pits. Fuel is definitely a very big factor here this evening. Sonic gets that corner a bit wrong. Goes wide. Right on board with a race leader. Both making contact with a wall. Does he finally sense an opportunity? No, it's taken away from him at the last second. He'll try to use this as a sort of slipstream partner. Luckily for him, Ayrton Spener is very fast, and if you want to be stuck behind someone, it wants to be Ayrton Spener, because he's just pulling Sonics along. This is perfect for him at the moment. Ayrton Spener on a very great strategy of his own, though. We said anyone can win this race, and someone has gone for a spin. Who was that? It's Chiller Killer again! Oh no, big accident for Chiller Killer. That's his second this race, just makes contact with Avanza 7 and around he goes. And he tries to navigate it to the pits, unfortunately gets caught on the wall and sacrifices way more time than he would have needed to. Sonics finally gets the job done on Ayrton Spener. Back into the lead of the Grand Prix. Ayrton Spener doesn't have much time left in this stint. Fuel will determine that one. Still trying to use as much as he can as a slipstream. Ollie Polly goes around. Big spin. What happened to Ollie here? Passes Avanza 7, and it's Russell causing drama. Takes out Ollie Polly in a big, big way. And Ollie Polly will not be pleased with Russell's driving on that occasion. Weird situation. We see third and fourth battling in reverse, because Skull TBD is a lap ahead of Chiller Killer at the moment. As I was going to mention, it can be the race that anybody wins, and the best performer right now is Skull TBD, actually. Some of the big guns, Mr. Ralph, Avanza 7, those kind of people are really struggling at the moment. And it's our usual suspects in first and second, albeit in a different way. Now this is interesting. Still a lot of life in these racing hearts for Ayrton Spener. Does he change them? Yes, he does. It'll be a long fuel stop for him, with 1 litre of fuel being all he had left, and Sonics has found his slipstream partner. Someone he'd be looking for the whole race, and he just lets him straight through, actually. So, not a lot of slipstream used between the two there. Sonics through. Skull TBD up into second. However, Chiller Killer is right behind. Now, I'm not entirely sure if there's a lap. There is a lap difference between these guys. Merju trying to get involved, and he goes around for his troubles. And there's Sonics, very lucky that Merju didn't unghost like it did for Spener so many times. That could have been huge. However, Chiller Killer, let's take a look at that. He's on lap 145, as is Ayrton Spener and Ollie Polly. So these guys are legitimately closing in on the battle for the podium at the moment. How well will the TBD guys work together? Dizziness intensifies. Pretty sure if these drivers were anywhere close to real at this point, then heads will have fallen off shoulders from the amount of G's being taken on here. Is that Sonics just having an incident? I just want to quickly have a look at that. He did get stuck on the wall. and that allowed Ayrton Spencer through again. So that's what happened to Sonic's. His tyres are going away, and he got just stuck on the wall. Lost himself a few seconds there, and he gets stuck on the wall again. So Sonics needs to get his head back in the game here. He's starting to make mistakes. Bit too comfortable in the lead. Very easy to make a mistake and spin out, and it all be for nothing. Mr. Ralph pits. Tyres looking a bit dainty now for Sonics already. It feels like only 5 minutes ago he put them on. But he seems like he's pretty comfortable with a racing super soft strategy here this evening. So let's take a quick recap of the situation. Ayrton Spencer is the man on the move. He's racing with Skull TBD, albeit he's a lap down, so there's not really too much of a battle, but it gives you an idea of the pace Ayrton Spencer has at the moment. He's able to get past the man in second place, unlap himself, and he'll be able to continue his pursuit of Chiller Killer ahead. Polly Polly has dropped down into P5. Is he in the clutches of Philly Wool? Philly Wool is on the move, so he could very well be. Avanza 7 has had a race to forget once again, down in P7. Then it's Lenny TBD leading, Quickshots 10, Moju having some bouncing here and there. Mr. Alf 11th and Russell Alf bringing up the rear. So a big gap in Sonic's favour at the moment as he approaches his second pit stop phase. He's kept it clean, he's kept out of incidents. He had a little bit of an incident with Chiller, which put him down into second. Chiller took command for a little bit. Then Sonics was able to wrestle it back. Ollie Polly pits on 0 litres of fuel, so he's taken that as far as it can go. Contact between Mr. Alf and Russell once again. Oh, and Russell collects Quickshots, and that is another incident we have seen of the ghosting system really not having a great time tonight. Unghosting at the worst moments, causing some big incidents. This man Sonics has been able to avoid them all though. You can see he is losing time though. He's lost about 2 seconds. And in the grand scheme of things, that can be quite big when he makes a big pit stop for fuel the next time around. So you don't want to be leaving it too late. The tyres are starting to go. If he gets one bad nudge with the tyres in these condition, he's probably a goner, to be quite honest. As he does start to make contact, Mr. Alf disconnects or leaves the room, or both, I'm not sure. Sonics decides to let Lenny TBD go. Like you say, I think he realises that his tyres are in a condition at the moment where, yeah, if he gets tapped, he's gone. So he has decided to opt in, get some more fuel and some new tyres. Will he stick by his strategy and go on the super softs again? Be a long pit stop. He ended up losing a huge amount of time to Skull TBD behind. So he really needed to pit because his pace was getting slower and slower. Philly Wool pits from P5 too. And Sonics exits to pit lane on a full tank of fuel and some super soft tyres to boot. A few cars will come out in front of him. Looks like he gets out in front of the majority of them. Chiller Killer and Co. right behind though. And Chiller Killer immediately goes for the send. Unlaps himself from the race leader. Because he knows, of course, that can be crucial a bit later on if he can hold him up now. Sonics will realise this. Try to get back past as soon as he can from that man who just pulled that off. Sonics looks around, tries to find a way, has one down the inside. Is Chiller Killer able to do anything? Tries a switchback, nothing doing, but now Sonics will be on the defensive. Can Chiller Killer just use Sonics to pull him along for a bit? The super soft tyres definitely have an advantage. We did have some yellow flags. It's Russell going around again. We really thought it could be the first points for Roboost here this evening, but it unfortunately looked like they've returned to similar ways. So Sonic's leads from Skull TBD, from Ayrton Spener, who has opted to go onto racing softs now instead of the hards, abandon that strategy. Obviously, with 15 minutes of the Grand Prix left to go, the final stints will be closing in shortly. We might have a little bit of a splash and dash for some drivers towards the end, but a few of these drivers could well be just going to the end now. Lenny TBD does need to pit, as does Russell. Some cars really starting to lose some grip. Sonic's desperate for a way around a lap car, and it's the man he was stuck behind before in Ayrton Spener. Will it hurt his lap times? It looks like it. 4 temps off his PB. And I think Skull will definitely have to pit at least once. I don't know if Sonic's has to pit again. His tyres, are they going to go 12 minutes? That's the thing with Sonic's. He always gets his fuel and his tyres out of sync. So one will go. I would imagine 10 minutes, Supersofts? Possible. Possible. Don't know if the fuel is, however. Oh no! And the man who was catching him, it has all gone away. Skull TBD, after a perfect race, has gone for a spin, hits the wall, and gets collected by Philly Wool as he tries to get going once again. That is Heartbreak Hotel for Skull TBD. He'll make his last stop and try to fix any of this. And no, Ayrton Spener is also making mistakes too, as he tried to hold Sonic's up. He came into what looked like a WSR sandwich. And what happened? It was contact with the WSR that sent him spinning round. So he made contact with Quickshots 10. And these guys will make their final splash and dashes now. As a damage limitation resource, Sonic's in a much more comfortable position than he was all of a sudden. He's used a fair bit of fuel in not even 5 minutes, so I think he might be alright to go to the end. If he is okay to go to the end, barring any incidents, he will win this Grand Prix. It'll be his first Grand Prix win this season, and only the 3rd winner in total. Chillikiller's not far off, but he's a lap down. He can maybe interfere. And sped it up. Is holding on despite that to P3. Quickshots 10 comes in for some pit stop. Russell Levant and Philly Wool going hammer and tong in the background too. Chillikiller's actually caught Sonic's and is putting pressure on him despite being a lap down, and this is getting all kinds of hair and square him. Contact in the background, sees Ollie Polly go around. Looks like he had an incident with Skull TBD. So Skull was looking for a way by. It went 4 wide and Skull just understeers into Ollie. Ollie and just TBD in general having really bad luck here this evening. Suddenly Avanzo finds himself back up into P5 despite how his race has gone so far. Chillikiller does manage to unlap himself from Sonic's. And now Skull TBD will try to do the same. And he gets such a run around the outside. He is able to try to go around the outside. Now Avanzo 7 down the inside. Lots of pressure here for our race leader from cars he didn't think he'd be battling, but he's caught absolutely in the middle of the pack racing right now due to laps and stuff, people being unlapped, and he gets bumped into the wall by Skull TBD as well. So he's just dropped off at the tip of a hat, muscled out. And the man who's been in clear air by himself for most of the race gets his first taste of the midfield, and safe to say, I don't think he likes it. As we have an incident in front, it looks like Skull TBD has had an accident. The race leader sneaks on by. Back in the middle of the pack. Got to be a minimum risk though when you're this far into the race. You can't be affording to throw anything away at this point. Sonics has already had one race cruelly stolen. Oh, contact! And the race leader goes spinning in contact with Skull TBD. What happened there exactly? Let's take a quick look. Sonics is coming round, he's gone wide, and it looks like he's just, he's hit the wall, and he's ricocheted into Skull TBD, takes the pair of them out, and he'll survive in the race lead for now. But his buffer that he worked so hard to get has just been used. He's used his one get out of jail free card. And he won't want that to happen again, and he looks like he might be safe for the time being, as he finds himself in some clear air. Chiller Killer in second is being steadily chased down by and Spenner. But I don't know if there's enough time for that. Avanza 7 is being slowly chased down by Philly Wool. Surprisingly spread out at the moment. Lenny TBD. And then, of course, Moju and Quickshots 10 battling for P10. Some last-minute stops from Avanza and Ollie Polly. They'll likely just go super soft to the end at this point. Sonic's tyre is with 7 minutes to go. Starting to look a little bit nervous, but he is pulling away from Chiller Killer. Are these guys on the same lap? No, I think Skull TBD's got a lap in hand. She has. So Skull TBD is under pressure from Philly Wool, but he's got a lap in hand, so it doesn't really count for much. See, Ollie Polly now makes his way past the race leader, like I say, on that super soft sprint to the end. Avanza 7 opted to go with just the regular soft, so clearly not feeling that confident of going onto the supers like Ollie Polly did. Will that play dividends a bit later in the Grand Prix between the two? We'll have to see. Yellow flags, it's Russell going for another spin. The race leader again in a hairy situation where Skull TBD throws it down the inside, shoves the race leader to one side because he's too busy battling with Ayrton Spenner. And the race leader, understandably, doesn't take the risk. Just willingly puts his hands up and moves out of the way. And we are close to the end of the Grand Prix with 5 minutes to go. And I think, again, bar any nonsense, there is a car scraping the wall. Chiller Killer and Ayrton Spenner getting into it. These guys are on the same lap, so this is a legitimate battle, by the way, for P2. Ayrton Spenner looking for a way past to get himself up into second place and negate any damage in the championship today. Is he going to be able to perform the same swoop he performed on Avanza 7? Yes, he is. Up into P2. Fantastic move from Chiller Killer. Unfortunate for Skull TBD. He manages to go through as well. But unfortunately for him, he is a few laps down. And again, it won't really count for much. 4.5 minutes to go. I'm just trying to think. I think Sonic's fuel will go to the end, but I'm not sure if his tyres will. It is going to be very sketchy on the last few laps, but we've seen this from Sonic's. He puts on traction control towards the end of his stint, And that sort of helps him keep the car under control while he ekes the very last of the tread out. But he gets into contact with Philly Wool, and he almost throws it away like he did with Skull TBD a bit earlier. And he's got to be super careful because he's no longer invulnerable. If he has one incident, one spin, one crash, Ayrton Spener will pick up the pieces. It's Philly Wool comes into pit lane. Yellow flag, Sonic's trying to navigate himself. We'll just go on board for a bit and just show you how stressful this is. So this is on board with Sonic's now. You can see obviously he's following his teammate. Pre-arranged strategy by WSR we think today, you know, to just tow where possible and then let him through as soon as he can. And then he's lucky, he's only got Chiller Killer really and Russell Avant to pass. Now he gets stuck behind Chiller Killer and Russell's having a bit of an incident in front of us. So we're a little bit psyched out by that. We're just worried Russell comes back down and does something silly. And we swerve to avoid as Avanza 7 sneaks through. It's a very sketchy stuff here for Sonics. His heart will be pounding 10 to the dozen as cars launched themselves from all angles to get their laps back and everything like that. And you can just see how many times we're in a near-death situation. A lap. And there goes Skull TBD. He's on better tyres and he moves himself past us. That's another car we need to worry about now. Can we just stay behind and slipstream to the end? Possibly. I think the next car behind us is our rear gunner of Quickshots 10. So we don't overly need to worry about them. We don't think Quickshots 10 will do anything to us. We should be fine on that as we come off the onboard. 4 seconds is the gap between Ayrton Spener and Sonics. Despite how in control of this race Sonics was, his lead is tumbling with 2 minutes to go. And I know it's only 2 minutes to go, but that's a lot of lap time. A lot of laps, and his tyres are on the ragged edge. He cannot afford an incident here. And look at that, he's not even going flat through the corners anymore. Compare that to Ayrton Spener, fully flat. 2.7 seconds is the gap. Sonics has played this very close to the edge. Ollie Polly pits again. This is a tense finish. Look at that gap on the top left. 2.3, a minute and a half to go. In a massive battle pack 2. In traffic. Taking it easy where he can. He's decided he's had enough. He's going to try go up the inside of them. He's a little bit tentative, understandably. Minute 20 to go. The gap's 1.1 seconds there and Spener in the background. We can see him. Sonics is desperately trying to get a move on. We understand that Quickshots 10 is playing the rear gunner role. So will he hold up Ayrton Spener? He's unable to have a say. Ayrton Spener goes through. 1 minute to go. Chiller Killer goes spinning. Another victim. Less than a minute to go. Sonics leads by 0.5 of a second to Ayrton Spener on much better tyres. Sonics tyres on the ragged edge of Adhesion. He's got to be very careful. He cannot push as flat as he wanted to. That could be the opportunity Senna's been waiting for. He's right there. Ayrton Spener looks for a way around. 27 seconds remaining. Ayrton Spener, is that to the inside? Yes, it is! Ayrton Spener takes the lead of the US Grand Prix with 20 seconds to go. Sonics played it close to the edge, and his tyres went away at the end. Ayrton Spener, with 7 seconds remaining and an inch of fuel left, has taken the lead, and he's on his final lap, and that's it! Time's up! Ayrton Spener wins the United States Grand Prix! Wow! With 20 seconds to go, look what that means to Ayrton Spener! He is so happy, he spins across the line! I have never seen anything come that close to the wire! Ayrton Spener from nowhere wins another Grand Prix! That was absolutely mental! I cannot believe what I have just seen! I cannot believe I have just seen the lead of the race change with 20 seconds to go. Oh my goodness gracious me. You will never see anything like that again. And the craziest race of the season ends in another crazy, crazy result. Fantastic, and for the second week in a row, Sonics is heartbroken as Spencer steals a win at the death. And we've got to congratulate him. Oh my goodness, I cannot quite believe what I've just seen. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the United States Grand Prix. What a race it was! And it came right down to the very end. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm sure you can probably tell by the way that I'm shouting how much that I enjoyed it. And I'll probably pay for this in the morning, but it was absolutely worth it. Fantastic stuff. Ayrton Spencer wins for Team Black Diamond ahead of Sonics. And guess who came in third? I believe it was Chiller Killer once again. Let's clarify that. Yes, Chiller Killer came third again. And we said in the early stages of this race that there has been 3 occasions where these 3 have been the top 3. Will we see it again today? And we did! Could you believe it? You couldn't write it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Crazy racing. Ayrton Spencer wins again. Thank you so much. Take it easy.